Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about shoulders and Paula. Just because it's hard for other people here. I know not everybody has, first of all, this is a half a roller. It wouldn't have to be, it can be fully round. This just makes it easier because it doesn't like roll around on you. Sort of getting into position is easier if you have a flat bottomed one. But I also know that a lot of people only have one that's maybe about half this length. You could use two of them. You could use two yoga mats potentially, although if you have as much flexibility as say I do in my shoulders, I still need the therapy, but I actually have fairly flexible shoulders now, thanks to yoga. And yoga mats would probably get your arm too close to the floor. So, anyway, if this sounds appealing after I describe why you would do it, it might be worth buying one of these, whether it's round or half round. This was a technique I learned actually from one of our yoga students on yoga retreat many, many years ago. And she had worked with a guy named Pete. I don't know if it's Egoscu or Egoscu. I've been talking about him for ages. He was a Chicago-based physical therapist. And he may not even be alive right now, I'm not sure. He wrote a number of books on specific physical therapy techniques, really to help the body return to neutral. And if you look him up online, there's still a bunch of stuff out there on YouTube and whatever under him. It's Egoscue. And he has some very compelling photos of people standing like this, and describing what the problem is with those, etc. Including that if your head is even a little forward of neutral, it adds like, if it's an inch forward, it adds like 25 pounds essentially to your head as far as the effect that it has on your spine. Plantar fasciitis can be a result of actually the pull up here going all the way down the fascial plane into your feet. In fact, I had a client on my massage table yesterday who said that all their plantar fasciitis, they realized was coming from calves and hamstrings. They hadn't realized that. So anyway, it's all connected, and I think his work is really helpful in that way. Jack Nicklaus, the golfer, wrote the intro to one of his books and basically said, and he was in his 70s when he wrote this, Jack, that he had, I think in his 50s maybe, started to think he wasn't going to be able to continue to golf because he was experiencing so much pain and disharmony in his body. And he met this Pete Egoscue, and got these exercises. And at the time he wrote the book, or the intro at age 70, that he was still golfing as much as he wanted every day, but he was doing an hour of these physical therapy things, an hour. And I'm sorry, but we are all a lazy bunch of critters, myself included. And it's like I say to my partner, I'm like, I really have only myself to blame when I'm waking up in the morning going, oh, my hands were going numb again at night. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't do my TheraBand exercises yesterday, which would have taken me 5 minutes, not an hour. So anyway, so some of my missive to you comes out of my frustration with self, but really my recognition that I don't think I'm that unusual, probably. You may not have numb hands, but you've probably got something else that is not making you 100% happy in your body. So this is, I think, one tool that can really help us reclaim freedom through the shoulder girdle, which affects everything, mental acuity, your heart rate. If we're like this, it actually can congest this whole area of breathing and heart function. It's pretty incredible. So I'm just going to show you how this works. And the peonies aren't in the way, I better move them, but I better. So I had a funny moment, you guys. I was walking up, and the ones in the vase back there are particularly smelly. I encourage you to take advantage on the way out. And I'm walking up, and I've got 2 of them in my hands. I'm walking up the thing, and I'm sniffing as I'm walking and thinking, I wonder if sniffing and walking is as bad as texting and walking. So I'm evaluating, is it as dangerous? I'm like, I don't know. I think I can keep visual connectivity. I think it's better. So anyway, so to get prepared for this, you want to be able to sit on one end and have your head be on the other end. I don't want my head off, my tailbone off. And you can see how if it was a full roller for some people, this process could be a little etsy-ketsy, as we say in Greek, a little challenging. So I'm gonna scooch my tailbone all the way down and land like so. I'm gonna take my feet wide as I need to be comfortable. Again, if you're on a rolly thing, you might have them wide, otherwise you can have them here, whatever you want. We're gonna connect to the spine, so just like you guys do in compression breathing. I'm gonna take my hands up parallel like I'm holding that loaf of bread, and I'm gonna hug my wingtips of my shoulder blades around the bolster, or whatever you would call it, the roller. And I'm gonna continue to keep those two anchoring points, core and shoulder blades. And then I'm gonna do two movements, basically slicing and windmilling. Now, as I'm doing slicing, it's really interesting to notice the different sensations. So I'm going slowly so that I can notice. And so that I can also notice kind of bad habits, like we were just talking about the tendency to have your arm bent and not even know it. I see a lot of people do this in this pose. Just like when we're on the bra strap position, people are constantly bending their arm instead of reaching. And I'll tell you, in terms of sensation and what's being worked through the armpit, which is your shoulder joint, it is a completely different gig to be in that active reach. So you're slicing slowly with awareness, active reach, karate chop elbow, and then at some point you windmill, you rotate your palms towards the ceiling and you slowly windmill. And then, you do that a few times, etc. And then at some point you return to slicing. And I cannot say heartily enough, I guess I'm already sounding so didactic, I probably don't need to say more, that if you have never tried this, I really wish you would, and especially if you already have a known kind of shoulder funky thing, definitely do this. I'll be happy to stay for a little while after today if you wanna have me watch your alignment or whatever. This is here all the time, we can do it another day as well. Although I might steal a tape to Storage House now for Thursday nights. Yes, Barb?
I was referred to physical therapy for osteoporosis, and they had us using those, to open up the spine. And the round ones, I've got the round one at home, and they come in soft, medium, and hard. And the soft, I much prefer. The hard, you usually run into the hard rollers.
Yes.
And they're awful. But the soft one works really good to open up the spine and all that. And they had me doing those exact same things.
Right. Thank you for adding that. I can see why it would be useful for osteoporosis, because so often in osteoporosis, people will be a little bit sort of bowed and curled. And the problem with that, of course, is that, and I'll remind us of a principle that is easy to forget. It is not actually our spine that holds us upright, right? Whenever you see a spine in a doctor's office or a chiropractor's office, it's like hanging on a hook, right? That's because what keeps us upright is our soft tissue. And that's why we work on it like we do in yoga and jet airplane, or noticing if you're, walking like this and instead push the earth away and walk. Because those are the muscles that we need to tonify and continue to tonify in order to stay upright and to help support, in fact, perhaps a weakening bone structure. There have been amazing studies about people with osteoporosis and elderly who have fallen, and instead of breaking their hip, have not had a problem because the soft structure held and supported the joint structure and the bone structure. It's a really different way of thinking about it, I think, which is why I try to every once in a while, like, bring our attention or wrap our head around that. It's like a paradigm shift, really. Yeah.
And laying on that roller, if I have that back pain, it relieves the pain.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, I know, it's such a relief to have your own tools and things you can do when you feel that you're in pain, to have your own techniques. I mean, what a blessing that is. So I'd love you to try it. I'm not gonna assume that everyone's gonna be in love with it the way that I am, but I wanna at least introduce it to you. So much of what has brought me to the body that I'm in, which is not happy and healthy in all ways all the time, as I've mentioned, but basically vibrantly well, and I'm able to do most things I want to do, have been little techniques like this, or someone digging in somewhere that, like, until I experienced it, I just had no idea. I was like, well, I don't know what to do, So hope I've helped with that.
And where would a person get one of those?
You can get them online, I mean, dare I say it, Amazon, but you can also, I've seen them at Marshall's and stuff.
What are they called?
They're rollers,
Okay,
probably
yeah,
physical
roller.
therapy rollers of
Okay.
different kinds, and they come in a lot of different kinds.
You could use a rolled up beach towel too.
You could use a rolled up beach towel, yeah, as long as it stays thick enough for your hand to not hit the floor before you've, yeah. So there are ways, like I said, 2 yoga mats, if you have a thicker yoga mat, or you bind it up so it doesn't, squish on you, there's options.
Axeman,
Axeman, what did you get
that's where
there?
I got it's harder, but I got a tube.
Ah, a roller tube can get Axeman in the
$2.
cities.
It was
Very
$2 at Axeman.
Fantastic. Pool noodle potentially, although again, they're probably a little small for a lot of us, so. We're gonna start off with compression expansion breathing, which I think is a great way to get us into breathing, of course, get us well oxygenated, wake up those core muscles that maybe are a little weak, because those are part of what's gonna help us get that root and reach when we're doing some standing work. I have some of the windows a little open, as you can see, because it's just so lovely to hear the birds and so on. Anyone who's next to one, if you start to feel like you'd rather have it closed, close the blind, please do what you need to do. I do have one fan running on low and we can turn that up. But I don't wanna blow anybody out of the room if you're right next to the thing, so. So our first act really is just coming into awareness of our body. I am in this body. Let's take 3 sighing breaths and let ourselves settle with gravity into the moment. Inhaling slow, deep and wide through the nose. Oh, you guys sound so good, and I'm reminded that when we sigh, it not only helps calm our own amygdala, the alarm center of our brain, it also helps tell others we are well, we are whole, we are safe. There's nothing you need to fix or worry about, or nothing you need to move forward. So let's find our few points of introversion that create a sense of presence but non-striving. Inward gaze, looking up and behind the third eye. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth. A soft ujjayi, that great sounding breath with the throat contracted just a little bit. And if you have a particularly busy or frenetic mind and it kind of drives you crazy with its amount and pace of thoughts, try to use that ujjayi as like a surface clearing for the mind. I sometimes picture the brain as like a surface of a pond or a lake. And that ujjayi breath is sweeping the surface of the water clear of all detritus until it's settled and reflective. And now, deeply curious, we watch the breath wave, rising and settling, asking, is there more? Inhale, is there more? Exhale. Notice if it's hard for you to wait for that next part of the breath wave. If you've been kind of hurrying and worrying through life, it may be so ingrained in this moment that it's difficult to wind down and be patient with the breath. That's okay, just notice. Again, you don't have to change it. It will evolve just by practice of being here. The next time you are exhaling, I'm going to invite you to then hold out external breath lock. We're hitting pause, literally. Noticing the sensations that accompany that pause. Asking, can I soften around this? When you need to breathe, inhaling and then holding in, internal breath block. And how long you hold out or hold in before intensity builds will depend on how intensely you emptied or filled, right? If you just did a soft exhale or soft inhale or a really intensive one, it's up to you, whatever's your pleasure. Holding out and holding in. We'll do a couple more rounds. It's good to know your own habits. Do you have particular areas that you contract when there's kind of some intensity building? Do you furrow your eyebrows or sandwich your tongue or kind of tighten in your chest area? Again, just notice and invite softening there if you can, and no worries if you can't. In a moment, we're going to be coming into that compression and expansion breathing I mentioned. And if you find that laying flat is difficult or creates tension, if you want to have your knees bent and feet flat, feel free to do that. The next time you're exhaling, instead of them holding out, you're just going to keep slowly exhaling, asking, is there more? While you draw your belly towards the spine, low back into the floor, empty. It's like you're trying to squish something with your low back, and you're holding that engagement until you sense there is no breath left. See if you can get more muscularity and guard engaged while softening the neck. When there's nothing left, soften, allow yourself to be breathing, and sip in a little extra. And we're going to continue with this for probably a couple of minutes. It doesn't sound that long, but it's amazing when you're really focused. It stretches time. So deep attention in the body. I like taking my fingers sometimes to my low abdomen or other areas that I think maybe aren't engaging and just heightening my communication with them. I often roll my head side to invite the neck to stay soft. Notice if the mind runs off, puppy mind, monkey mind, bring it back. We might do this 100 or 1,000 times. I'm hoping on the inhales that you're getting to experience some expansion along the rib cage, kind of under the shoulders, under the armpit. This is a really important part of the body. All those intercostals are actually responsible for helping flare the ribs, making it easier to get more of our lung capacity filling. The next time an inhale comes, and again, never rush to meet my words, inviting you to just gently and slowly sweep arms overhead and begin exploring organically. Maybe you're flexing or rolling through the wrists. Oh, you're yawning. Oh, big or real. Clasping one wrist perhaps with the other hand and drawing along. Oh. Excellent. And then I thought it would be fun to kind of approximate the arm positions that we do when we're on the roller. For a lot of us, we'll still get good effect from it. So you're just going to want to take any of your blocks or anything and push them kind of just down below your hip, and then you should be pretty good. Or make sure if you've got a drink bottle right above your head that's going to get hit, that you move it a little to the side. So you're going to take your arms straight up towards the sky, palms facing each other like you're holding a loaf of bread above your chest. You got it. And this might be easier with the knees bent, I should have mentioned that, so I put your feet flat like when we do bridge pose, you got it. Anchor your back into the floor. Anchor your shoulder blades a little in towards the spine, kind of like you're imagining a bolster there. And then ever so slowly, we'll do our slicing. Slowly taking one arm above our head and one arm down by the hip. Pause to notice if you bent the elbow and see if you can get karate chop straight. And reaching through middle fingers, and then slowly slice again. We'll do a couple more like that. Great opportunity to notice if one arm is different, either in its ability to straighten or how far it can reach for the wall behind, or just the sensation. Like I have one arm, my injury one, where I feel a lot more stuff going on around the shoulder blade. Sometimes I'll feel more in the outside, like out right below the deltoid. Some of you might be feeling that. We're gonna switch to windmilling. So the next time you're in a slice, pause, turn your palms towards the ceiling. So you should have one arm over your head towards the wall behind you and one arm by your hip. That's in the slice, you got it. Palms rotate towards the ceiling and then we slowly windmill. The arms are along the floor. They might even be touching the floor. As close to the floor as possible. There you go. Yeah. Anybody noticing anything of interest? Mm-hmm. Good. So this is feeling good and useful even without being on the thing? Yeah. Yeah. Some of us, our shoulder stuff is showing up, right? Yeah. And you might then return to slicing. So the next time one arm is up behind the head and one arm is by the hip, turn the palms towards the body and return to your slicing. Again, nice and slow. And you know what? I'm noticing as I'm doing this standing is even useful. Maybe we'll do it again when we're standing. We do sometimes do slicing in our lunges, right? I love that. All right. Hopefully that is enough to pique your curiosity, your awareness of like, yeah, this might be good for me. Again, when you're windmilling, your palms are towards the ceiling. And when you're slicing, your palms are towards your body, facing in. Okay, so hopefully that helps. We're gonna bring those arms back down near us, and we're gonna be coming in and out of bridge. I recommend adding a block between the thighs, now that you've pushed it beyond your reach. I personally love anchoring my upper arm and having my hands kind of splayed towards the ceiling in bridge when we're coming in and out. When we're holding bridge, sometimes I like adding yoga mudra, but for this, just a nice anchoring of the upper arm. See if you can get your shoulder blades in towards the spine, and that protects your cervical spine. It creates less pressure for the neck. It should feel really good. And as you're ready on your inhale, I'm gonna have you tilt your tailbone down a little bit, so I'm intentionally arching my low back away from the floor. On the exhale, I'm gonna intentionally anchor the back, feel my tailbone curl up, and then press the hips to the ceiling. Asking, is there more? On the inhale, I'm gonna try and lower one rib at a time. And this is a lot more work for the butt and thighs, and that's great because we're tonifying that back body. Inhaling a little arch, unless your body doesn't like that. Exhaling, all the ribs come down into the floor and then raise the hips. Good, think about squeezing that block or the imaginary one. Inhaling, descending, and at the very end of that inhale, a little arch. So you get the idea. We're creating a lot of spinal movement and a lot of strengthening for that back body that is what helps make us upright, right? Reducing that heavy head syndrome, etc. What I find interesting about this particular work is like, I mean, I do this, some version of this almost every day, and my body still needs it. And I think that's true of a lot of us because the rest of the day, we might have our arms in front of us. We might be leaning forward a little over a project. And so really just a few minutes of this antithesis to that is, I think, the key to good living, along with a few other things. The next time we come up, we're gonna hold and add foot hovers, so you might wanna remove your block. But please, again, imagine that it's there so that as you raise those hips, you're feeling a nice connectivity in the inner thighs and the knees aren't splaying outward. Ever so slowly, lift one foot off the floor about an inch. Tune in, breathe, and in your own time, slowly switching back and forth. If you like to add a leg extension, or it just feels good because then your hamstring feels less crampy, fine. Please don't lift your leg higher than the other leg. The thighs stay in the same plane. Also, notice if you have a habit of rotating your foot out. That's a habit we'd love to overcome in yoga because it will help us in life off the mat. Again, use our muscles in a more balanced way. I'm seeing some people semi-pointing their feet. You want to flex through the heel. And again, check and see if you can get those toes facing straight up. Again, if that's really difficult for you, notice and know that probably in life off of the mat, you probably walk with your toes turned out a little bit, right? We've discovered that in our train tracks before. Yeah, and you might be ready to be done right about now. And to me, the perfect balance to that is happy baby. And so whether you want to use a strap across the soles of the feet, or you want to just hold the blade or the big toe, we love our feet wide, and then our knees drawing down along to the side of our ribs, like we want to bring them to the yoga mat. And I find sometimes here, it just feels naturally good to roll a little with it. Roll it a little side to side, you get a little massage through your kidneys and your lower waistline. Is there anybody who wants a strap who does not have one? And from here, I often come into half straddle because I have so much tension in my hamstrings. My preferred way to do that, because it's easiest on my neck, is I actually, first of all, I just let my hands come behind the knees or the thighs, and I plant my upper arm on the floor, and I just let the heels kind of hang to the butt. And that's my starting position, and then I straighten one leg into that hand. And it's nice because I've got the elbow on the floor, I'm not having to like hold my weight of my leg. I'm just providing a little stanchion for it to kind of be supported as I work this stretch, which for many of us can be really intense. See, can you get your legs straight here? Ideally, we want to be able to experience full straightening the leg here or somewhere else. You might point and flex the heel, roll out those ankle joints. Oh, is this side different? What you got going on? And then we'll bring the heels together in active butterfly right here at the butt. Again, you could use the strap around the feet if your hands can't really reach, because we would love the shoulder heads to anchor down the back and the tailbone towards the floor. And maybe you want a windshield wiper and bring one foot towards your head and then the other, getting some nice mobility in the hips and knees. Lovely. Then we're going to come up into one more expression of full bridge with the idea that we might hold for 3, 4, 5, 6 breaths. Maybe we come into yoga mudra, intertwining the fingers behind the back. If you're feeling neck pressure, lift the chin up and back. Again, squeeze that imaginary block. And if you're not sure what I mean, try intentionally taking your knees a little wide and then intentionally draw them back into neutral. And notice how that changes both the activity of the muscles and the stretch. Do you see what I mean, you guys? It's a different pose, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're ready to release, please do notice what feels good. Maybe it's knees to belly, maybe it's straightening your legs into corpse pose. We're going to come into some abdominal pumping. So you'll gather an inhale as if it's all you'd ever do. We really want to communicate with each breath, like, hey, how's it going? Is there more? Exhale, empty, and hold out in order to do your pumping We draw the belly towards the spine. We press towards the ceiling. And I'm always amazed by how much work abdominal pumping is. Like I usually feel like I need to sigh afterwards. I'm like, oh, that was a lot. Yeah. We're then gonna bring our right knee into the belly, release wind pose. And I'm giving you some kind of options today. I often do of just levels of intensity. Maybe this humidity's got to you, or however much you've been doing, you're like, I just want the easiest thing. Maybe you wanna do a little more activity with me. So let's create our sit-up. I'm gonna exhale, and I'm gonna raise that left leg as I reach my chin towards the knee. I wanna kiss my right knee. Let's do one more like that on the side. Nice inhale, release, exhale, belly to spine, spine to floor. Inhaling, release the spine, take that right leg to the sky. I can feel a stretch all the way into my foot when I flex my foot like this. That's how tight my hamstrings are today. Exhale, root and slowly descend. Be a weeble wobble in your neck. You can do it. And melting. Life is good. There, bring that left knee into the belly. Right thigh is anchoring towards the floor and reaching away through the right heel. That's part of what's going to give us the needed stretch through those hip flexors. Again, you might just be hanging out and enjoying the massage that breath brings, or adding that sit-up motion. Asking of each breath, is there more? And on a long inhale, extending that left leg. Again, being curious, is this leg the same? When you flex that heel firmly, what happens in your body? Exhale, root and descend. And melting. All right, I've got one more little bit of dessert for us here on our back body, reclined pigeon. So crossing right ankle to left thigh, you might want to pause and do a little wag as I think of it. So I'm wagging my right knee away from me and towards my chest. And then as I'm ready, I'm going to raise my left leg and see if I can hug the right knee towards the right chest. And then take it all a little towards the center line until I feel some sensation into that right glute area. It might be in the piriformis, that's one of the things we're going for. You could also hold the foot if you like the angle that provides. So this is just lots of ways to be here, and your job is to see what feels best today. We're gonna come from here into a little spinal twist. So I wanna offer options. For those of you who, you don't have any low back stuff going on, you feel pretty comfy in your body, I'm gonna invite you to just take your legs all the way to the left. So my right foot actually lands on the floor. So I'm keeping in that same alignment I had. If this just feels ouchy, unwind and bring your knees together in embryo. Opening that right arm behind you. And maybe you're pulsing, maybe you're reaching and coming back to center. If you're wanting a little more twist, scoot your left shoulder towards the left edge of the mat. So it's the one on the floor, you just sort of scooch it a little, and that'll bring you more onto the blade and less onto the deltoid. Yeah. Yeah, any amount of twist is really healthy. So just even little twists are so useful. So to come out, I generally feel it's safest to unwind the legs, because otherwise you're asking all those back and hip muscles to pull you back. So that's what I would do. And then we'll cross left ankle onto right thigh, heel flexed, give it away. Yeah, good. Raising that right leg off the floor, hugging the left knee. Maybe you're holding the foot too, because maybe you've discovered that's your version of the pose. Sending it all a little towards the center line. And the tighter that knee is towards your chest, the more intensity. Is there anybody who's just not getting a stretch? Sometimes, our body can be a little bit of a treasure hunt sometimes to figure it out, All right, good, I'm glad to see it. A nice deep breath. If we're breathing, but I guarantee that we've probably not taken our biggest breath that we can. See if you can get one more really big greedy breath. Send it down into the hips. And then as you're ready, if you like that twist thing, then you're gonna just slowly lower, continue lowering to the right. You can put your right foot on the floor first as like a little touchstone, and that'll make it a little easier to navigate without something feeling intense in a bad way. And like I said, ways to amend the twist. You could scoot your right shoulder a little further right. You could definitely open that left arm out behind you. And again, the shape itself is only so useful. It's the activation of breath inside of the shape. These poses often surprise me. Like I find sensation in places like I didn't expect to, like right at the top of my hip bones. Anybody else get that? No, just me? Yours is in the outside of the hip, Yeah, it's great. Everyone's kind of taking their hand where they're noticing it. Love it. All right, coming on back to center. I'm gonna ask you to place your feet like you would for bridge again, but take the block between the thighs, and we're just gonna do a brief activation. This is one of my techniques that I used to help strengthen that inner line of my body, which in the end has actually helped relax the hips. I didn't used to be able to sit cross-legged. So I want you to simply squeeze and unsqueeze the block. And when you're doing it, try to notice if you're doing something else you don't need to do, like squish the tongue or furrow eyebrows or tighten your neck. We're going to be coming into a quadricep stretch, and I mentioned this before practice. You're going to want a strap, or you can use a scarf. And this can be done standing or on your side. Our dear friend Pat, in fact, who's here today, is the one that taught me the advantages of the side one. So you can just lay on your side body and get a hold of your ankle, or use a strap, or you can be doing this with me standing. But in either position, what you're going to need to do is get a hold of either the strap or the ankle, because we're going to be pressing the ankle and then relaxing, and pressing and relaxing for slower than that, but that's basically what we're doing. If you're laying down, please imitate standing by having your free leg active and straight, like the floor is at the bottom of your mat. Yeah, looking good. Notice if you want something under your head, if you want a blanket or something, I can run something to you. Yeah, anybody who doesn't have a strap want one? No, we feel like we got it? Okay, good. So again, you may not need a strap. I'm not a super flexible person, but this is one pose that after 25 or more years of yoga, I can actually do. I can touch my ankle. Amazing. All right, so we're going to, first of all, squeeze the glutes. We're engaging the glutes forward, essentially. And that's stabilizing our low back. I'm going to flare my yoga toes. I'm just kind of flexing the toes outward. And then I'm going to press my hand into my ankle for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax, let my heel come towards my butt again. And if you still have enough energy in your hand and everything else, do that 2 more times, pressing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let it go. So one more time, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release and bring that heel towards your butt, and then release totally. I didn't say that very well, but what I meant is release the activation. So when after you've created your intense activation, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let the heel return towards your butt, because you get that nice quad stretch. Are you guys feeling that, how it's firing up and then relaxing the quad? Yeah. Again, this is gonna feel more intense for some of us and more intense on one side. For me, it's very particular on my left side that activation, which is the same that we do in standing dancer, by the way, is very different. Happy to help with strap functioning because I felt it kind of awkward. Nice and done. Good, so when you feel ready, again, activate it through that floor leg so you feel really stable. You guys look amazing. And then shoulders, of course, are sliding down, glutes are squeezing forward. And as you're ready, we're going to press that ankle into the hand, nice yoga toes flared, pressing that ankle back into the hand, pressing, pressing, pressing. This way, like that. And then letting the heel move towards the butt. You might even give an extra pressure to get that stretch. We'll do it 2 more times. Good. Activating 5, 4. Oh, well, I would limit it then, those are miserable. Okay. Yeah, Charlie horse is no fun. I also should have mentioned, try not to have your knee higher than the hip. Some of you, your knee kind of goes up when you start doing that pressing thing, which is a very frequent misalignment in standing dancer as well. Again, hopefully you're doing your third one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the heel come to the butt, nice stretch, and let it go. Woo! Awesome. Take all the time in the world getting there, but we're gonna meet in ragdoll front of the mat. Some people like spinal rocking. If it doesn't hurt, it's actually kind of fun. Landing on your feet, knees are bent. Sometimes it's nice to have a block underneath the hands so that your shoulders are kind of more supported. That's all good. Ask you to just breathe and tune in there for a little bit. And you might gently shift your weight a little forward and back. Notice how even a little bit forward or back changes the stretch up the leg. Am I right? Yeah, so I'm just briefly then wanting to put this in your, extrapolation mind. Think about how different it is for us standing and walking if we are truly in our center of gravity or a little bit forward. Just a little forward is going to tighten the bejesus out of that back line. Yeah, would it feel good to kind of go a little side to side, kind of swinging the arms and the hips? If you're tight, as I am here, this is always a great education and reminder of all those connections, right? All those IT band connections by the knee. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna come in and out of this and standing and chair pose, essentially, in various versions. So as you're ready, I'm gonna ask you to simply inhale and drop your butt to chair. And exhale, settle into that. Neck is soft, shoulders sliding down. On an inhale, root and rise, push through the feet and push the ceiling away. You might even look up as you squeeze your glutes forward. Exhaling, swan dive. I want your head to be the last thing. So you send the butt back and then let the torso fold. Full breath here. Big inhale, let it move into your belly, your back. Nice emptying. Inhale, sit your butt to chair. And I'd love us to be able to make eye contact. So I really want your spine upright. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. On a long inhale, root and rise. Push the ceiling away. If looking up feels good, great. If not, don't do it. Exhaling, swan dive. Get a nice deep, full breath. I'm gonna have us, before we come into our next chair, everyone walk your feet in until you think it's about a block width apart. Just like 6 inches-ish. You might have already been there, by the way. All right. On your inhale, belly to spine. So think about that core you use in compression. And even though we're inhaling, engage it. Sit your butt to chair. And I'm gonna ask you to look down and notice, are your knees tracking with your feet? If they're coming in, take your hands and use them to pull them or rotate them externally until they are tracking with your feet. One more full breath. Ooh, hello thighs, right above the knees, am I right? Boy, inhaling, you're nice, squeeze, glutes, ah. One more time, exhaling, swan dive. Full breath here, compression, expansion, you guys are doing great. So nice slow movements. Let's hear a little ujjayi. One more time, inhaling, sit to chair. If you'd like a little balance challenge, come onto the balls of the feet. Nice core support.
Today.
Inhale, root and rise. Prayer hands on the exhale. Resolve into our first full standing posture. Mountain stance. I'm gonna bring us into that arm slicing that we were doing in our kind of shoulder therapy pose. And so you're gonna take your palms flat facing the body, right? If we were imitating what we do on the floor, we would start in front, but it does not really matter. We're gonna have one arm up, one arm down, right? That's our slice. So just kind of get a little bit of a shoulder blade hug there towards the spine. And we'll just do a few slices, nice and slow. One of the challenges with doing it standing is it's easy to sometimes compensate with your neck, to kind of tighten your neck to get your arm further back or something. Try not to do that. Keep it nice and weeble wobble, soft tongue, looking good. Yeah, so the next time one arm is up, just pause, look at that elbow, and then bend the elbow and re-straighten it. Just see if you're really getting karate chop straight. Awesome, let's do the next one. Look up at it, notice what the sensation on this side is like, bend the arm a little, karate chop. Good. And the next time you slice, hold, turn your palms forward, essentially. Yep, I'm shining towards you, you're shining towards me. Keep that as you windmill. So the arms are to the outside. Anybody else get fun nerve sensations in their armpit? Yeah.
All the way down.
So fun, yeah, all the way down to the minor and the pinky and the ring finger. That's the ulnar nerve, so much fun. Yeah. And of course, breathing, that's important. Let's do pause at the up and down position. That's that kind of, there you go. Turn the palms towards you again, towards the center line, and slice. We'll just do one more here. Nice. And release, good. Let's come into a standing version of yoga mudra, intertwining the fingers behind. Or if you know when you go to do that, you get nothing, like you can't straighten the arms, the shoulder heads don't rotate back and down, you don't get a shoulder blade sandwich, you need a scarf or a strap or a sock even. Sometimes just a sock will do it. Because what we want is to be able to get the shoulder blades to come in, the shoulders down, the hands down, and then even if you've got all that, you might be like, oh, I can't get the arms up off the butt, so I'm gonna add a strap. Or I'm gonna widen my hands, and if you decide to go into a forward fold with it, take those feet wide, having your arms wide can feel amazing. Be careful to not go too wide all of a sudden. What we don't wanna be really wide, because then now the joint's just in a funky, destabilized position, okay? So check it out, again, it might feel better if your feet are wide, it definitely helps to have knees bent, because otherwise your hamstrings are gonna keep you from getting the yummy of the shoulder thing. Yeah, Tom, I would take those hands wider, see what you think. If you don't love it, go back and do it the way you were doing it. Yeah, you can even go wider, like if you're not getting an absolute, like, oh my God, someone is massaging under my shoulder blade, yes. Take the hands wider and see what you think. Yeah, Penny, I would take them wider and see if, yeah, because then they'll come up with grab, oh, see that? They came up over the head more. And again, if you don't love it, I make these suggestions, you don't love it. Paula, turn your hands the other way so your palms are facing me. Yep. This way? No, that way. Yep, you got it. Yeah, you want, if you're holding an object, you want the back of your hand on your butt, basically, and then do your thing. Yeah, so hopefully you got enough of that. If not, keep going. We're gonna come into a nice opposite shape. Just take your feet a little wide. You don't have to stay, you know, on your mat or whatever. And we're just gonna take the right arm in front, thread the needle, press at that elbow. Make sure, please, this shoulder is not shrugged. So yeah, nice noticing, get it down, then bring it across, hand at the elbow, press in. So yeah, Mark, move your hand down by your elbow. Yeah, there you go. And then a lot of us might enjoy that just little tilt down towards the hand. what I like about that is that it takes the stretch down into this, which I often say, this is not your shoulder. This is your shoulder, that armpit, lat, costals. Yeah, when you feel ready, we'll just toss it up and away, circle it. And we'll cross the other way. And the breath is our change agent. So your willingness to really direct breath deeply into the upper back. I always like to say, imagine you've got wings back there. You're trying to unfurl them. I'm also reminded as I'm paying more attention to my pose, if you engage and straighten the crossed arm, you'll generally get more of a stretch than if you let that elbow flop. And again, cross up and back. My friends, we're going to come into, I think, one of the more important poses for helping renovate shoulders. However, if you already have a shoulder thing going on, sometimes it might be like, not today, but is our downward facing dog. And I want to just talk about one brief thing, which is that in general, one of the cues to help us get into a powerful and supported downward facing dog is to rotate your shoulders away from your ears and down and back. So instead of being like this, it's like that. Having said that, I was made aware that sometimes that actually bothers people's shoulders. So in general, it's good for most people, but it actually might be not for you. So I just want to say, if you go to try that and it doesn't feel useful, get rid of it. But for most of us, it'll actually create some wonderful neck freedom. You can kind of check and move your neck around. In order to achieve that, don't hesitate to take your hands a little wide. I don't think crazy. Don't feel that you have to have them straight in front of your shoulders. I'm going to invite anybody who's not sure what their shoulders are about this morning, start in table. Anybody else who wants, you're welcome to flop down into your fold and step back and then start checking it, okay? We've got options. No. No, but by the way, if you want to just put a little wall, rotate the arm up the wall at a time. This tends to open the thing, so I just. All right, so we want to check with hands, our foundation first. Intelligent hands, middle or index finger and thumb pad anchored, middle finger straight forward, looking good. Yeah, and then one of the things that will really help us here is that addition of that low robot belly, which I know we didn't do robot, but you guys know where that is, looking good. And see, do you think your elbows are straight? Good, and if not, maybe we have to wake up those triceps, which often do not get used. Yes. Good, see if you can send even more energy towards the back of the room with your tailbone. And if you can breathe here, of course. Just see what you prefer. And if you're not done yet, and you could be, you can go to child's pose if you want. If you're not done yet, test by straightening one leg behind you. Keep working this, keep working this. Yes, yes, yes. And then the other leg, and notice what that's like. Looking good, yeah, you have the right instinct. Keep those powering in. Woo! And then resting either in child's pose or coming to your belly. What's your body say? After having those arms forward, it can feel nice to kind of bring them back or just have them in a relaxed position versus extended. See what you think. Anybody find something a little new in their body by thinking about that shoulder anchoring? Maybe. Think about winging those elbows in when you come into that. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. God, you guys are good. You're just like all these subtle cues, getting them. All right. We're going to come onto our belly to do some of our jet airplane stuff. And I remind you, you can always do it standing. I try to remember to do it like in the house when I'm like waiting for a coffee to be pressed or whatever. So I should probably just start putting little post-it notes everywhere. That's maybe the thing to do. All right, so resting on your forehead if you can, because we really want to think about getting that back of the neck long. I noticed how, this may be too much information, but I'll put it a different way. I noticed how when I sit at the dining room table, I was going to mention somewhere else that I sit, that I unnecessarily collapse through
my neck like that. And I'm like, why am I doing that? This is not nice for my spine. Yeah, not nice. So even here, I want you to sort of imagine you're pressing through the crown of your head, and then your hands are back behind you, palms facing the floor. Don't try to have your pinky in by your body. Why? Because it's gonna create really weird stress up above. So instead, lift your hands off the floor just a moment. We're not trying to go high yet. Just lift them just off the floor. Circle your shoulder heads down the back, and then think about kind of squeezing your upper arm a little towards the body, but letting your hands go wherever they go. Yeah. How's that feel? Good. That looks powerful and peaceful, and that's really what we're looking for. Beautiful. Anchoring the pubic bone and hip bones, right? Pelvic triangle. You should then feel beautiful elongation through the tailbone. Breathing and noticing, begin to just reach your hands off the floor towards the wall behind. That's it. Don't lift the head, don't lift the upper body. Just as much as feels weird. Okay. Yeah, only do as much as feels good. Good. And some of you, I know your hands can come higher without letting your shoulder heads rotate down, right? And if you're not sure what I mean, try taking your hands super high and you'll see it rotates your shoulder heads forward. We don't want that. That looks amazing. Yeah, beautiful. Good. Ever so slowly, see if you can sweep your arms out. And then slowly forward. And only go as far as you can go without making those shoulders unhappy. See what you think. All right, and then we'll bring them back again. Take all the time you need to. I know there's maybe some objects in the way. Ooh, and relax. Turn your head to the side. Yeah, I was kind of startled and dismayed to discover when I went to the physical therapist for this hand numbness thing, he had me do Superman pose. And I thought, well, I've got this. I've been doing that pose for years. And in fact, nice version of the pose. However, he and I were both a little shocked when he went to press on my arms and I had nothing. I had nothing. I could not resist, and he was not pressing hard. And that told us a lot about weakness through here, which is one of the areas that was impacted by my accident. And I haven't done specific stuff to just do that area, right? So part of why I wanted you guys to do this like slowly, and we're gonna do it one more time, is I want you to notice the place where you kind of all of a sudden feel like weak, or you can't keep your arms straight, or maybe one arm is dragging on the floor. That's telling you there's some PT needed there. And the cool thing is, I mean, honestly, you can do a few things with TheraBand and whatever. Although we should all go see a PT once a year, probably. Have them catch stuff before it's horrible 25 years later. Anyway, let's do that again. So palms on the floor. I know we're doing some minutia here because when we move fast and we're all good at these poses, and if I just have you go into them, you won't notice these little blips, right? So shoulder heads rotate down the back, anchor the pelvis, of course. We're starting with hands back, I should have specified. And then you're reaching your hands off the floor, noticing, don't go so far that it rotates that shoulder head, and ever so slowly sweeping out and up. And then as you're ready, if you feel that you could hold there and come into a Superman, great. And that's where you're then gonna extend your spine and let your upper body come up, good. But don't look at me because I'm not doing it. And I want you to look down at a love note. Someone telling you how beautiful and powerful you are, yes. Woo, and then release however you want to. Nice work, folks. So I want to offer a little option here as we wind down towards our Shavasana, if you can believe it. I know we haven't done dog series, warrior series. You're like, what's going on?
I'm good with it.
But you're good with that, good. And I'm hoping that you'll actually feel worked in a subtle way and maybe even notice some new stuff tomorrow. But I want to offer the option, anyone who's hungry for dog series, this would be a really cool time to go into it and watch very carefully your shoulders, specifically in chaturanga. There's a tendency for the shoulders to come up and the elbows to go out, and the same thing in cobra, right? So I really want you to watch yourself. Shoulder heads are down, elbows stay in, no wings, no shrugs. Conversely, if you want just some good power heat up, coming into forearm plank would be beautiful right now. And again, you get to really watch yourself. You know, can you relax into the power and intensity of your version of forearm plank? Might be on your knees, might be on your feet. You might be adding one lift of the leg behind you. And then we're gonna all enjoy the recline over the bra strap position, where I'll have us add one more time some arm movement for those that want to. If there's something else you're needing, you'll go there. Beautiful. You're tuning into breath, asking, is there more? That looks amazing, Mark. Isn't it fun to find out how just strong we are? I mean, you guys are amazing. Remember, if you've got your feet on the floor versus knees, power your thigh bones to the sky. Soft tongue, soft eyebrows. And you squeeze your thighs like you think you have a block between. There you go. If our ankles or our heels roll out even a little bit, we're gonna feel weak. None of you are weak. You guys are all just amazing. But that little architectural change can make us feel weak, and it'll put pressure on the low back. Okay, when you come out, we're gonna lovingly take time to arrange ourselves, and hopefully we've got enough supports for everybody. For the bra strap recline, I've yet to come up with a better word for this. And what is key is that you do not experience a pull in the low back or tension in the neck. So for me, I've found if I'm using this soft block, for example, I can go like so, and I can kind of position it, but then having my scarf ready to go under my head, makes all the difference. And we are seeking the If anyone wants this soft block, a scarf, or blankets, got a couple more blankets. Anybody want a blanket for under their head, or to roll the blanket up instead of a block? I'll take that. Block for her. Yeah. My pleasure. So what we're trying to achieve is the ribs being pressed up towards the ceiling. This should allow the wingtips of the shoulder blades to tuck in towards the body. Nice. You want to lower? So I'm going to suggest anyone who's curious to add the arm thing. And it's basically the same thing, it's just a slice. So you're going to take one arm up and one arm down. Yep, check that your karate chop's straight. And I like a little add-on here, which is with that arm extended behind you, bring it a little out to the side and back towards your ear. So you're kind of doing like a pie shape or 90 degrees on a clock, a quarter of a pie. If it feels good. And sometimes when I'm bringing that arm in towards my ear, I'll roll my head away, and it gives me this extra yummy stretch again along all that shoulder architecture below the armpit. Thing. It is 11/11, my favorite number. Some of you know that's my birthday, but it's also supposedly some angel number. Alright, I'm gonna invite us to, each of us find a place where we can relax. And if you've got a subtle version of that bra strap thing, maybe just a rolled up blanket under you or something, you might enjoy just staying as you are. Otherwise, please roll a little to one side, come off, return into a resting pose, perhaps corpse, maybe on your side. want to be in seated meditation or something instead, you certainly can. We're gonna spend the next few minutes just tuning in and letting that all marinate and circulate. Again, we did a lot of really subtle and powerful stuff. I thank you all so much for your powerful attention inward. I'm just thinking, given all of the shoulder focus, I'd love to offer a shoulder press this morning. Please raise your hand a moment if you'd like me to skip you. Anybody want me to skip them? And you can absolutely let me know as I'm doing the press if it does not feel great, and I will change. It's a very slow thing. This is your yoga, your wholeness practice. And trust that you have done really beautiful work massaging so many parts of your body, including areas that you weren't thinking about, like your organs, your nervous system, your detoxification channels. Begin to slowly expand your breath. Begin to gently move, explore wrists, ankles, neck. One of my favorite points of self-massage, especially when you're laying down like this, is to take the hands behind the skull and explore the areas around the occipital ridge at the base of the skull. Maybe even taking it into the temple, across the front of the forehead and hairline. Before you make your journey back into the river of life out there, this is a beautiful time to, first of all, just kind of cement any awareness that you gained, something you learned about your shoulder joint or something that really felt good that you want to remember to do. Maybe it was compression expansion breathing. You're like, oh, that. And then just notice, yeah, is there anything that you need today? Anything that you need to choose to do or not to do? Do you need to ask for help? What kind of food would nourish you? Thank you so much for getting to the mat this morning and just your willingness, as always, to kind of go with what I'm exploring in yoga and in our bodies. I appreciate you, and I'm hoping I'll get to see some of you at the Carriage House this week or another. I am asking people to RSVP for our Thursday night classes at Third Mountain Retreat, so just pop me a text, etc. We end up with more people than we can hold in the Carriage House. There's room outside on the lawn. It's raining. We have actually done it before when it's been raining. It's kind of amazing. So be well. Om Shanti Shanti Om. Peace, peace. Namaste. And here, if anybody wants me to go over the alignments on the foam roller thing with them, I know it was forever ago we talked about that. Days and days and days. Peonies at the back are definitely the most scented. These are pretty awesome too. I know, and I'm like talking to those peony bushes every morning. I'm like, grow, grow, because we've got an event on Saturday and I promised them peonies. And I'm like, you need to start opening. Glad you could be here.